Scotland will be out to prove they can mix it with the big boys. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Scotland v France, it's at Scottish Gas Murrayfield in Edinburgh. What a stupid name. That's what you get though when sponsors can name stadium. It's on Saturday 5th of August, kickoff is 3:15 BST. This is Scotland's second Rugby World Cup warm game and France's first. And with that in mind, they've picked very different teams in terms of strength compared to their first 15. We're going to have a quick look at the two teams now, starting with the home team, Scotland. So fullback is Kinghorn, right wing Graham, the centres Jones and Tuipulotu, left wing Van der Merwe, halfbacks Russell and White. Their front row then is Schoeman, Ashman and Fagerson. Second row Gray and Gilchrist. Back row Fagerson, Watson and Dempsey. On the bench then Cherry, Batty, Nell, Cummings, Darge, Horn, Redpath and Smith. So now let's have a look at the France team. So front row is Gross, Wugarit and Bamba. Second row Woki and Charleroi. The back row Bodenhent, Tanga and MacLeod. Their halfbacks Coulond and Jalabert. Left wing is Dumortier, right wing is Biele Biari. Centres Mofana and Galiton, and fullback is Dulan. On the bench then they have Maovaka, Wardy, Falatea, Willemse, Cretin, Serine, Hastoy and Vincent. So these two teams played in the Six Nations this year. It was in France, and France won that one 32-21. Scotland had their moments in the game, but France in the end, it was kind of a bit comfortable for them. Scotland kind of have that thing, I think, with France that they it's one of these ones where I think you need to beat them first and then get that confidence from beating them, and then from that then it can kind of go from there. I know they have beaten them before, but I'm talking about here in the Rugby World Cup year as well, being able to do that. So they're going to want to do it because, if Scotland do get out of the group, they're going to be on decent form going into a possible quarterfinal against France or New Zealand. So they're going to want to I think, make a statement in this game and not necessarily get a big win or whatever, but just being able to compete with them, I think, would be good for Scotland. Having a closer look at the teams then, so Scotland have gone with Kinghorn at fullback. So Stuart Hogg is retired from rugby ahead of the Rugby World Cup. I think even if he was available, I think Kinghorn was going to be the starting fullback anyway. You got Darcy Graham there. I think he's nailed on at right wing. The guy has a crazy, caps to tries ratio for Scotland, and he's in red hot form. So I can't see him being, gazumped, as it were, for that right wing spot before the Rugby World Cup. You got Jones and Tuipulotu, so good in the Six Nations that I think, it's going to take something to really prize either of those out of there. Same with Van der Merwe on the left wing. I think, in terms of the back five, I think that's basically Scotland's starting back five for the Rugby World Cup. Throw Finn Russell in there as well. It's going to be a starting 10. Ben White might be the starting 9. There's a little bit more debate around who's going to be starting 9 for the Rugby World Cup. On to the pack then. Schoeman, Ashman and Fagerson. I think Schoeman and Fagerson both going to the Rugby World Cup. Ashman, he's one of these ones where he's going to have to impress to get included. You got then Gray and Gilchrist in the second row. I think both of those go to the Rugby World Cup and are possibly going to be the starting second row combination. In the back row then, there's a lot of competition in Scotland for back row places. You got a lot of players who are, I'd say, are kind of on the cusp of being like world class. Like some have, like Hamish Watson, I think in the past would have been in that bracket. He's still getting back to full fitness though, and we haven't seen him up to that level, but we know what he can do. Fagerson and Dempsey both have shown like that they have the ability there to deliver in the back row, but there are a lot of players as well who are pushing for those spots there. But I think all three of those go to the Rugby World Cup. But these guys, I think, are playing for starting spots against the likes of South Africa and Ireland in that Rugby World Cup pool. Onto the bench then, Dave Cherry. I think, he's one that you would expect him to go to the Rugby World Cup, but he's still got to deliver to show that, if anybody kind of comes and kind of is playing out of their skin, he's going to have to be playing well for them to be excluded instead of him. Batty and Nell, I think Nell is probably going to go to the Rugby World Cup. He seems to be a really good backup for them. Batty, maybe. I think at the moment he probably is going, but there's still competition there. Scott Cummings, probably another one on the plane, but will want to push his case for, inclusion in matchday squads. Rory Darge, he was the captain last week, and when he comes on, he's going to want to remind everybody what he can do as well. Then you got George Horn. I think there's a lot of competition in the 9 spot. There's no real kind of standout, I think, for Scotland that is like this person is definitely the one to partner Russell. Then you've got Redpath there, who seems to be the favoured backup 10. You've obviously got Ben Healy, who showed last week what he can offer at test level, and Healy's very different to Russell in that respect. You got Healy, who can control a game, has a beautiful kicking game, and Russell, who can just run a backline like a dream. But having that on the bench, though, in the Rugby World Cup could be really good for them, being able to change it up. I think Redpath, for the moment, is maybe the guy in possession, so Healy's going to have to... I think maybe both will go in a wider squad, but in terms of getting into the 23, I think those two are in direct competition. Ollie Smith then is one, I think, who's going to have to really impress to, absolutely nail down a spot on the plane. Onto the French team then. So, not as strong compared to that Scotland team by any stretch of the imagination. You got Gross, Bugarit and Bamba there in the front row, not a first choice front row, all players who were kind of, looking to either book their place, not on the flight because they're the home team, but book their place in the squad or kind of jostle for position within the squad. I think Woki is definitely going to be in the squad. Charleroi, it has competition for a spot there. Bodahent and MacLeod, I think, are probably a bit ahead of Tanga in terms of pecking order, but I don't think any of them at the moment would be starters for the World Cup, depending on, players recovering from injuries and stuff like that. Coulon and Jalavar, I think both of them are kind of being given a chance to show what they can do, but neither are guaranteed for the Rugby World Cup. I think Dumortier is absolutely nailed on. He had a fantastic Six Nations, and he showed that he's born, I think, for test level rugby. Biale Biare is another one who's going to have to impress. Mo Fana, I think, is probably, in terms of the backs, one of the ones who's further up the pecking order. Gaelton, another one who's going to have to impress, and Dulan, I think, is going to go to the Rugby World Cup. On the bench then, Mauvaka, Wardy, Falatea, Willemse, I think all of those are going to be in the squad for the Rugby World Cup. Cretin, maybe Serine, I think, is probably going to be maybe the backup 9 for the Rugby World Cup. Astoy has competition for his spot, and Vincent, I think, is one of these ones that he's going to have to really impress to get included. So how do I think the game is going to go? Well, looking at the 2 23s and even the 2 starting 15s, my head is saying Scotland should beat this France team by 15 or 20 points. But I also know that Scotland have a mental thing with France and being able to get one over them, so it's going to be a closer game than that. And I have a sneaking feeling that France are probably going to pip it by a score or 2. So I don't know whether to go with my head or my heart on this one. I think it's going to be a fantastic game either way.